Well, Paul Sewald blows 3 consecutive saves for the first time in his career, spoiling Yilber Diaz's incredible debut for the Diamondbacks. We have more right here, right now. Let's go! Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. And there's a lot of places I would rather be, including a Circle K, than here right now talking about this game, because this one sucked. This was Paul Sewald's 3rd consecutive blown save, and the Diamondbacks dropped this one to the Atlanta Braves by a score of 5-4. But we have more on why maybe the Diamondbacks didn't deserve to even win this game and why they might have to go elsewhere for their closer besides Paul Sewald. Of course, my name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. I am here with my dog, Damon Dog, on the 1s and 2s, and Jesse Friedman will be joining us here shortly from Chase Field. Yes, folks, it's time to get angry. It's time to get your pitchforks. I'm not even going to hold you folks back anymore, because tonight what we saw was the Arizona Diamondbacks find a way on a night where their offense was not productive to take a lead into the 9th inning and almost win against a team the caliber of the Atlanta Braves. Instead, Paul Sewald, their closer, remains unreliable in his 3rd consecutive game where he's blown a save, where he was down to his final strike, 2 outs with 2 strikes. And unfortunately, things didn't go Paul Sewald or the Arizona Diamondbacks' way. The Diamondbacks, let's just say it, they should be on a 9-game winning streak right now as we speak, after having swept both the Dodgers and the Padres, starting off this series against the Braves with a win. Of course, that's not the reality that we live in. We live in this reality where Paul Sewald, unfortunately, spoils a wonderful debut for Yilber Diaz. And of course, now we have to talk about it because as you may have heard on the broadcast, as you may have heard Bert bring up during the game.
I don't know if I heard it.
Did you?
No,
you know,
I missed it.
Yeah, because they were like, well, what it was approaching the situation and teeing it up so nicely where you're like, Paul Sewald in his career has never blown 3 saves. By the way, Paul Sewald, not sure if you've heard this, never blown 3 consecutive saves in his career.
I actually didn't hear him say that.
Yeah, yes, you heard him say it.
Okay.
Because it made us sick. It made us sick. And I mean, again, what else makes us sick? But it was Paul Sewald again giving up a home run in the bottom of the 9th. He comes in in the 9th. Of course, there were people, many of you that are here in the chat, which we thank you guys for being wonderful and being here in the chat. But many of you were probably very, very worried, just as much as we were, that, the Diamondbacks were going to turn to Sewald and it was going to go this way. Of course, he comes in the 9th. He gets Ozuna and Duvall to fly out, down to 2 outs. Eddie Rosario, who is Eddie Rosario, singles on a 1-2 count. Paul Sewald down to his final strike. Rosario gets on base, and then Sean Murphy hits a 2-run home run to tie the game. Sewald works 1 inning, gives up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 strikeout. I mean, there's talk of people in our Discord, and that again is many of you that would like to see Paul Sewald potentially DFA'd at this point. And that sounds crazy, except having watched the way that this team has played and how, like I said earlier, they should be on a 9-game winning streak with the way the rest of the team that is not Paul Sewald has played. And it comes a point where the big question, I guess the one thing everybody wants, right, is, you see someone in your bullpen like J Mart throwing 100 miles an hour, and it makes all the sense in the world for him to be that closer. You forget potentially.
That's the problem. It's exactly the problem, is that we have 3 guys right now who are pitching really well.
Yeah. Ryan Thompson, Ginkel, and J Mart.
So when you see those horses go out there and work, and then Sewald blows 3 games in a row, naturally you start thinking, well, then these guys should be getting the prime closing opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's where it's hard as Diamondbacks fans. But where it's hard as when you're the Diamondbacks organization is Sewald hadn't blown any saves prior to this week.
Yeah.
And then
now he can't get a save.
A week loses you your spot. A bad week loses you your spot. But it's such a bad week. It's egregiously bad. It's so bad that questions do need to be raised for sure.
And it's understandable. And we also saw Torey go to Humberto Castellanos, for instance, who was able to go out there and get the job done in a save opportunity that, of course, we predicted. We knew Castellanos was going to be getting save opportunities. No, I kid. But, of course, the one thing that may have been lost on some people is that Justin Martinez was also getting hit very hard tonight by the Braves when he came into the game in extra innings. Was it the same as Paul Sewald? I don't know. And I don't know if Justin Martinez necessarily would have come in and saved the game. It feels like he would have. It feels like Paul Sewald was very close. So I think that's the problem. Now you have Paul Sewald go out there, be effective against 2 batters, and because, unfortunately, he wasn't able to keep Rosario off base and keep Sean Murphy from hitting that home run, it looks like he's completely ineffective, and you do have people wondering why the Diamondbacks don't move on completely from Paul Sewald. Forget just finding another closer and giving Paul Sewald a different role. People just want the Diamondbacks to move on from Sewald. I feel like we've gotten on, kind of a pace now with this team where we as fans, that's kind of been the fix, right? Is when you have a guy that you thought was the guy getting the job done, or that you might pay a lot of money because they should be or once were what they were, and right now they're not. The Diamondbacks haven't had a problem moving on, and it feels like now the amount of time that we as fans wait or want to allow a guy like Sewald, with the way he's pitching lately, to impact this team negatively, it's like, you just instantly want to see them make that switch, make that change. Torey said on the postgame tonight that Paul Sewald is still their closer. And I very, very, very much understand anybody wanting to challenge that or question that, right? I think that what Damon said it best, though. The baseball world at times, it's a 162 game season, but the game that we just watched seems like the most important one, right? And watching Paul Sewald blow an effort by this team that was able to, I won't even say this team. Fuck that. The offense doesn't deserve to be included in this. I will say they blew the effort that Yilber Diaz made in his debut, and that's what sucks, because the offense deserves very little credit tonight. And that's why at the top of the show I said maybe this team didn't even deserve to win this game. 4 singles was what the Diamondbacks did on offense tonight. After the way that they performed in Los Angeles and against the San Diego Padres, the Diamondbacks come in this game and they hit 4 singles.
Against a guy who got called up from AAA. A minor leaguer. I mean, I know the guy was an all-star last year, but it was kind of a fake kind of all-star, first half of the season by Bryce Elder. He's not a very good pitcher.
Right. And Benjamin Hundley makes a great point. He said, where was the bullpen before Sewald, was a part of it or returned from injury? Exactly. And not only that, where was the bullpen last year before Sewald joined this team? These are all things to keep in mind when it comes to what's going on right now, and the fact that this performance over this last week isn't really Paul Sewald, right? And I mean, right now it might just kind of be getting into his head. The thing that is strange to me is where people want to question like Torey Lovullo and his use of going to his closer. That's the way that this has been set up, just much like the way like when
they're going to come after you for that.
What? They're going to come after me?
The chat's going to come after you for that, I think.
About that?
Yeah.
About going to your fucking closer? Why?
No,
Why? You go to your closer.
You definitely don't take the ball from your closer after 2 blown saves. That's for sure.
Right.
3, I think it's fair to start having a conversation about
No. I'm not forgiving Torey for saying he's going to continue to go with Paul Sewald. That's over here. Let's differentiate. I'm talking about the loss being on Torey because he went to Paul Sewald. The loss is on Paul Sewald and his inability to get that final out. And again, much like me, like Paul Sewald would probably be the first person to tell you that if it's on anybody tonight, it's on him. And I don't understand how people would see it otherwise. If you want to question going forward and you want to say Torey sticking with his guy, if it continues to cost this team games and wins, then yes, I completely understand from this point. You do not go away from your closer simply because he had 2 bad games, especially when he was solid up until that point. You also, did see Torey go away from his closer and give Paul a little bit of time after those, devastating blown saves so that hopefully he would be right and able to come out and still be effective for this team. Baseball's a mental game. That's part of a manager's job, is to, show confidence in his players and kind of protect them in a way where, he's not going to give up on them that fast, right? There is no reason at all that Torey Lovullo should be blamed for sending Paul Sewald out there tonight. I blame the offense once again a little bit more when you talk about a team that just got 4 hits. Going back to that, the only runs they were able to score was in the bottom of the 6th, besides the extra innings where they were able to bring in the ghost runner. But Perdomo gets things going on a night where the offense was completely flat again, because that's what Jerry P does. He gets things going. He singles and then reaches second on kind of a blown, misplayed ball out in the outfield that was absolutely a mess. The Braves looked like a clown show there. That's for Jerry a brief Ball. Moment. It's Jerry Ball. I mean, it's a lot of pressure when Jerry P gets on base. You immediately assume he's going to, get more bases. So you kind of panic a little bit. But he singles, he reaches second. Corbin singles and scores Perdomo. Game's tied at 1. Then you just had a series of walks, Cattell walks, Jock walks, Walker walks, Walker walks. And then Corbin scores based on the bases being loaded and them walking in a run. Lourdes brings one in on a sacrifice fly, and there's your 3-1 lead. That was it. He said, we were not up 3-1 at the 9th. Were we not? I just explained it. We were up 3-1 in the 9th. But the Diamondbacks offense hit 4 singles tonight to get those 3 runs, was my point, right? Like, this offense didn't even deserve to have those 4 runs or those 3 runs. They really didn't. They didn't have to have the 4 runs, right? But if people want to say, like Alan here, that it feels like mismanagement by the manager, I would like to know how. Again, do you have an answer for that?
No, it's just like I said right now. After 2 blown saves, you can't take the ball from Paul Sewald.
Right.
After 3, we can talk about it. Now, if it happens 4 times in a row, I think that there's not even a question in the world, right?
Sure.
But I think we're gonna have to figure that one out the hard way if it happens, because Torey is gonna trust in his guys. That's what he does all the time. That's why the players love him.
Yeah.
And that's like a factor that I think a lot of people, they don't want to hear it, but like, the players want to play for Torey all the time because he always has their back.
Right.
And that goes a long way over the course of a season. You don't see it from a game-to-game basis, but you see it over the course of a 162-game season. The problem is that this team this year, every loss is like the most brutal loss in the history of all time. Yeah. And it just, like, I'm pulling my hair out. Every loss is brutal. Yeah. Brutal, Derek. Like, not just these 3 in a row. Like, the start of the season was just, like, painful to watch. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'm just sick of it. I kind of hate this team.
Yeah, well, I understand. I think Patrick Wayne Collects has the right answer. He says fire Baxter. That's the real answer here. I mean, if you
real changes need to be made.
If you want to make real change in the organization, that's it. But no, Sewald absolutely. Again, I already said that. I just said that the offense didn't even deserve to score the 3 runs that they scored with their performance tonight, right? Four hits, all singles. And again, only, the Perdomo single, Corbin Carroll single, and scoring Perdomo were the only ones that involved a run scoring play. Outside of that, it was mistakes made by the pitching staff on the Braves, side, walking in a run, and Lourdes getting that sac fly. Okay. But yes, if the Diamondbacks are able to get to the bottom of the ninth with a lead, then yes, they should be able to win that. That whole situation with Paul Sewald, like I said, is to blame.
I want to real quick. David in the chat here says that it's a PHNX company policy to never blame the players. Did we not blame Sewald and the offense? we just blamed 10 players. That's 10 players.
I feel I was defending Torey.
The only person we defended was the manager.
I don't believe people actually pay attention to the show when they're watching it at times, to be honest. I think that they watch it on mute because they already can't stand me, so they're just going to come over here and make comments in the chat. And if that's how you want to spend your time, that's fine. People are blaming it on Bert. Yeah, Bert really was begging. I felt like Bert was really begging for that third blown save in a row by Paul Sewald. But I think the thing that
he genuinely fitted in 4 times in a minute.
He did.
It was pretty uncanny.
Yeah. I'll tell you this much, though. I think the thing that gets me fired up, the thing that makes me most angry about Paul Sewald blowing this game is the way that Yilber Diaz pitched in his debut. It's Yilber Diaz pitching in his debut. He was lights out for the Diamondbacks tonight. He gives up a single home run to Austin Riley, and that was pretty much it. Outside of that, it was an incredible debut. This man absolutely deserves to pitch again. And with the Diamondbacks' current problems with waiting for their starting pitchers to return from injury, Yilber Diaz right now feels like a breath of fresh air. This man came in and did this against, the Atlanta Braves. And even though the Braves have had their own struggles at times this season, the fact that Diaz came up and delivered the way he did for this team tonight was something we haven't really seen out of any of the pitchers that the Diamondbacks have called up and asked to fill this kind of role. I don't know what you do with Yilber Diaz going forward, but I feel like he definitely at least deserves one more start and most likely deserves to be, deserves to possibly be in the consideration for sticking around and not necessarily being sent down.
Well, and deserves, to be what should have led off the show tonight. That's what Yilber Diaz deserved. He deserved us to lead into this show and for Derek to do that open and be like, Yilber Diaz shoves tonight in his debut. Diamondbacks get the W. Like, that's what he deserved. And so you feel bad for a guy like that.
You really do.
Like, he pitched his ass off. He was really good, and he looked good too. Like, it wasn't just like a kind of a fluky performance. He was like striking guys out, I thought.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of swing and miss. I liked what I saw from Yilber tonight, and I definitely think he should, be on the track to stay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see. AZ Card says send down Slade and keep Yilber. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be part of the discussion when it comes to what the Diamondbacks do, especially over this period of time where, we're waiting to see how long it's going to take for Merrill Kelly, Jordan Montgomery, and if he's real, Eduardo Rodriguez to return to the starting rotation. We did get some good news today from Torey Lovullo in regards to that. He did say that all 3 of those guys will be throwing bullpens at Salt River Fields tomorrow. So that's very encouraging. And again, actually, I will say this. I was a little discouraged because I really didn't know Jordan Montgomery's injury was as bad as it seems to be, because Torey said that sounded like Jordan Montgomery will not be back before the All-Star game, which that's not a surprise. It's a week away, or, you have basically this series with the Braves and the series with the Toronto Blue Jays left. But it sounds like he's going to, participate in like throwing bullpens and then, going to an Arizona Complex League. And I honestly didn't think that he was going to miss this much time. So Jordan Montgomery being gone right now, again, is another man down for the Diamondbacks that we still don't know how long until we're going to get him back. But that's what makes Yilber Diaz's, debut tonight so much more important, so much more impressive. It really can be a huge lift to this team. It sucks that they blew such a stellar performance from him in his major league debut like this.
And we need pitching right now, so it's great to get a guy that maybe instills a little bit of extra confidence in us, right? Like moving forward.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel as dire when you get a performance like Yilber, put on the field tonight.
Yeah. Well, of course, we, for that exact reason, are giving Yilber Diaz our king snake tonight because the man deserves it. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, gave up 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding in his debut. And again, does put, as some of you have said in the chat, does put the pressure on some of those younger guys to perform and maybe will take their spot. Should, with the way he's pitched. He deserves at least another start at a major league level. But let's take a look, even though I don't really want to, at the numbers from tonight. Let's take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. Diamondbacks outscored here by a score 5-4. They were out hit by the Braves 8-4. 2 for 8 for the Braves with runners in scoring position to the Diamondbacks 1 for 8. Diamondbacks, again, no extra base hits tonight, just those 4 singles. Braves had those 2 home runs for their extra base hits, and then 41.9% hard hit percentage for the Braves to the Diamondbacks, 33.3%. Not a great night.
Zero extra base hits.
0 extra base hits, 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position, and that runner was only in scoring position because Jerry P turns a single into a double somehow and, finds a way to get in. It's frustrating. This is a frustrating game. The Diamondbacks, and again, I attacked the offense earlier. I still think they deserve to be attacked. But, again, what you guys said is very valid and very true. Regardless of how poorly the offense performed, they had a lead going into the 9th inning. They were up 3-1, and we should be talking about a 3-1 victory right now. And instead, we're talking about a 5-4 extra innings loss. And that part is what sucks. I don't know. What sucks the most is that Yilber Diaz should have got this win. That's what sucks the most. It also sucks that Paul Sewald now has, another blown save, 3rd in a row, and alarms are ringing, right? There's absolutely no reason for anybody to feel comfortable. We just have, over the course of a 162 game season, these moments, these highs and these lows, and that's what we've experienced so far in these series prior to this one, right? And that goes back even to the Oakland A's series where they lost in the first game of that series. But the Diamondbacks, again, they have this weird reverse thing going on now here in the month of July. They have lost this first game, which based on the way that the last 3 series have gone means they're going to win the next 2, and at least one of them by blowout fashion. We do have Zach Gallen going on the mound tomorrow against Chris Sale, so that's going to be a fun matchup and hopefully advantage Diamondbacks there. But Chris Sale has been pitching incredibly well despite his age. Do I want to attack his age? I feel like that's wrong for me to attack his age, right? Like I shouldn't be doing that, but
glass houses,
yeah. My housing policy or my rock throwing policy. It's regardless of the housing situation, shitty behavior to throw rocks, no matter if you have windows or whatever your house is made out of. But we thank you guys, of course, for being here right now on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so right now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever these shows go live. Of course, drop us a like. We would love it if you did that. There's a lot of people that are leaving dislikes because of me screaming about things. And yeah, that's fine. But
one was like mid rant for me. And I'm not going to lie, like it hurt a little bit.
It did. It does. It hurts every time.
You just got to keep chugging.
It's every time. Cards, good question. We're going to get back to Cards question there, of course, but only if you like this video. So make sure to like this video, and then I'll get to those questions. Of course, if you are listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you subscribe on your favorite audio podcasting app. Leave us a review. Those reviews help us out quite a bit, and those 5-star reviews definitely help us out a ton. Damon, Bet365.
Derek? Yes.
I've been loving the options that they got in Bet365.
How could you not? The odds.
It's the odds. It's the live in-game betting, and I also like the fact that it is taking me away from sports that I don't. I normally bet on into things that I don't normally bet on. But that's what Bet365 have. They offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Not to mention the fact that they have, I think, the best kind of early payout offer in all of gambling apps and all these sports gambling apps. If you're a winner automatically if your team goes up by 5 runs or more with an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners, so you are an instant winner if your team goes up by 5. And with the way that Paul Sewald's blowing these games, you might need to win your bet and not lose it if they, come back. So right now, new customers can choose between 2 new offers when they open an account at Bet365 and use our code of PHNX365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and choose either between a bet and get offer where you place a $5 bet or more and receive $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer where you can place a bet up to $1,000, and if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. All right. Patrick Wayne Collects is telling me to not lose the house betting on esports. Don't tell me what to do, is what I'm saying. You know what? I will bet the house on whatever I want to bet on. But yes, esports. you figured me out. That's my new thing. But speaking of technology, speaking of apps, speaking of maybe even the way you're watching this right now on your smartphone, say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plan with my new best friend, Ryan Reynolds, Mint Mobile.
Owner of your favorite soccer team in the whole
owner
world.
Of my favorite soccer team. He plays my favorite superhero character. I was a huge fan of 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place. Let me tell you, I've studied Ryan Reynolds' whole career, but the best thing he might have ever done was launching Mint Mobile. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. So no worry about switching over and worrying about all that hassle. But what you can do is you can get a premium wireless plan starting at just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. That's mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. And go see Deadpool 3 in theaters. I'm not getting paid for that one.
Max is gonna hate that one.
Oh yeah, oh man, he's gonna hate. Oh, is a free ad for a movie? Okay, I mean this is still Ryan Reynolds stuff, so he'll love it. He'll love this. Max will hate it, but Ryan will love it. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right. Well, big shout out to Nicholas Gruters. Thank you so much for your super chat. Nicholas says, Sewald last 11 hitters faced 7 hits, including 3 home runs. We would have a 9-game winning streak if he hadn't blown 3 saves in a row. Facts. There's a lot of times where you say baseball is a team sport and you can say like, oh, the whole team lost it. And I guess maybe that was what I was searching for here and saying that the offense still didn't have that great of a night. And maybe based on the way they played, didn't even deserve to have a lead going into that 9th inning, but they did have a lead and it should have been secured by their closer and it wasn't. And it's not just a 1-run lead either. It's a 2-run lead. This Diamondbacks team even had a little bit of wiggle room for an error. And instead Eddie Rosario made sure that didn't happen. But of course, regardless of how Paul Sewald pitches, every year on this podcast is our year. Am I right? Damon gets me. And every month on this podcast is Pride Month. Of course, every week, including this week, is Shark Week. It's Shark Week. This is double, maybe triple Shark Week because it's always Shark Week. But on Shark Week, and then at Shark Week, it's a lot of Shark Week. Of course, every day is Earth Day. But on Mondays, even when Paul Sewald blows a goddamn lead in the 9th inning, we still go to the mailbag. Damon, let's go.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while there's a letter that makes me go wow, my mailbox.
All right, what do we got, Damon? First letter from the mailbox.
First question comes from Piece of Yoshi, and Piece of Yoshi asks, how many games back do you think will be the cutoff of choosing to buy or sell at let's say the Wednesday following the All-Star break. This applies for all teams, by the way, not just us. I just like to get a gauge of who would and wouldn't be available trade partners.
Yo, I will say that there is no particular number right now that I could put out there because of the pack. It's all based on the group. You know what I'll say? I will say that when you start dropping to 5 games back for the final wild card spot is where you are starting to traverse dangerous territory, right? And like that's why I can't give a particular number above or below 500 because this pack in the NL is so close that it really comes down to how close can you stay to the pack. When it comes specifically to the Diamondbacks, they know they have reinforcements coming, whereas other teams might not be so fortunate to be expecting the return of 3/5 of their starting rotation, right? So with that being said, I will say that specifically for the Diamondbacks, it's a matter of keeping it less than 5 games back in the wild card. Once you start getting to that point, then, I mean, it does really get difficult. It becomes difficult to see the path on how you can get there. However, if there is a team that feels like it's going to get much better when those bodies return, it's the Diamondbacks. So, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to see this team truly being a seller. Now, what I will say is that, like, there's parts of this team that, you know, are too valuable for them to consider, even if they are players that might be leaving at the end of the year due to their contract being up, right? We know Paul Sewald is one of those. Enough said there. Christian Walker, another guy there. So some of those guys that might be options, they might just be too valuable and it might not be worth it for them to sell off anything. But I think it's really going to come down to how close the Diamondbacks remain in the race and the fact that they're going to have so much hope. The front office is still going to have so much hope until they see the starting rotation of Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Jordan Montgomery, Brandon Pfaadt. Until that day comes, which Lord knows even if it will, I don't think that they're going to give up on this team. So I could see them standing pat at the trade deadline if they're not really in it, if they are 5 games back or more in the wild card race. But I don't know. I mean, it's just such a weird thing right now with the fact that the last 2 years, the last team in the wild card got to the World Series and the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, right? So that just gives these teams so much more hope that once you're in it, anything can happen. And it makes it that much harder for teams to be definitive sellers come the trade deadline if they're anywhere close to one of those wild card spots.
Yeah, I mean, could you foresee a world where Hazen like sells one guy or something, like someone that doesn't really have a long-term future,
yeah,
and kind of stays pat? I guess I could kind of envision that if we struggled, you know, to end out the break here.
It's worth though, right? Like one thing, of course, that people want is they want Paul Sewald to be DFA'd, but then they also want him traded away. Well, pick a lane, right?
For Mason Miller,
yeah.
Someone put in the chat.
Oh, that person's drunk. That's
I like
fine.
that trade.
No,
I
like that trade too, but that person's
I'll work the
obviously
phones.
drunk.
I'm gonna see what I can do.
Let's get something started. Let's just get something cooking, of course. But yeah, I mean, we're at a point now where I don't really foresee a lot of teams outside of the Rockies and the Mariners being sellers, and that's just the nature of this season. But we'll see what happens. All right. And we got another question here about trade deadline stuff, I'm pretty sure. What else we got from Corbin Carroll?
Next question comes from Corbin Carroll, the GOAT, and he says, do you think the D-backs will be buyers or sellers at the deadline? If there are buyers, who would you see them targeting?
A lot of people think that the Diamondbacks could still pursue some starting pitching, but if anything, as you've seen, it's going to probably be relief pitching.
Maybe a third baseman.
Maybe a third baseman. Yeah, maybe. That's not out of the question right now, right? Rengifo, right? That's who we want. But like obviously the Diamondbacks right now feel like, especially after seeing what the rest of this team has done lately, like they have confidence in this team. And you know, again, no way to know if whoever else they had closing these games would have gotten the job done in those situations where Paul Sewald didn't. But it is very easy to see a world where the Diamondbacks are currently riding a 9-game winning streak and are the hottest team in baseball after beating the Dodgers and the Padres and now the Braves in their first game, right? Instead, that's, like I said earlier, not the reality that we live in. So I definitely think the bullpen is going to be, and I feel like the bullpen has been kind of like they've been open about the bullpen being their target. And I think that'll continue to be their target. All right. Well, before we get on to any more Mailbag Monday questions, I'm not going to make the people wait. Plus, I'm already pissed enough people off tonight. So let's bring in the Thunderstick himself, my vice mayor, your Thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman coming in here from Chase Field. Jesse, people did not like the fact that after I placed blame on Paul Sewald, I also said this was a night where maybe this team didn't even deserve to win based on the fact that their offense was generated by 4 singles and mostly some mistakes made by the Braves pitching there in the bottom of the 6th. It just wasn't a good night all around. Yet I also understand the fact that they had a 3-1 lead in the 9th, and we should be talking about this team winning this game tonight.
I think it's totally fair to pass some blame onto the offense for sure. I mean, as you said, the one inning where the D-backs did put up 3 runs during the first, I guess they did score in the 10th inning, of course, but the one inning where they scored within the first 9 was not exactly pretty. I mean, it was a single plus air by Geraldo Perdomo, a ball that he didn't really get it a whole lot of, but it found some outfield grass. Corbin Carroll, kind of a similar situation with an RBI single that dropped in, and then the Braves just started walking the Diamondbacks around the bases. It was 3 walks in a row. There was a sac fly in there by Lourdes Gurriel as well. But all the way around, this was not a very well played game by the Diamondbacks offense. At the same time, the Diamondbacks just scored 50 runs in a 1-week span, and that is a lot of runs. I mean, that's more than 8 runs per game that the D-backs have averaged over the past week. So you're not going to get that kind of production every single day, and at some point the D-backs are going to have to find a way to actually win one of these close games. It really has been a struggle for them lately, and obviously 2 outs in the 9th inning, you allow a single, you allow a 2-run homer. Doesn't get any more brutal than it is right now for Paul Sewald.
Apparently, Jesse, there's a pretty bad echo, but that's not on us. We're blaming that completely on our software. That's job is to cancel echo. Come on, Roadcaster, get your shit together here. But Jesse, they obviously the big problem tonight, the big discussion point is Paul Sewald blowing his 3rd consecutive save for first time in his career. And people are not happy. I don't know what to do. And I don't know why Paul Sewald can get us so close to the finish line like he did tonight, but not just get that final strike, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say, right? I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be quite that hard, right? I mean, once the D-backs you have a 2-run lead with 2 outs and the base is empty in the 9th inning, you feel pretty darn good. I mean, no matter who's on the mound, you feel pretty good about winning that game. You only need 1 more out before 2 runs score. And unfortunately, it's just been an awful week for Paul Sewald. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Last Tuesday in Los Angeles, the D-backs had a 1-run lead. He gets the first 2 outs there. Then the next 3 batters in a row reach base, a couple of doubles and a single. The Dodgers walked that game off. There was the game, of course, in San Diego where the Diamondbacks put up 6 runs in the top half of the 9th inning, only to see Sewald fail to record an out in the bottom half of that inning with 2 homers and a walk. Manny Machado, of course, stealing the final blow there. And then today, 2 outs, base is empty. And, he didn't lose. He did not take the loss. Of course, this one did go to extra innings, unlike the past 2. But I understand people who are frustrated, but at the same time, Paul Sewald was 11 for 11 entering last week. So you do still have to kind of balance in that, if Sewald had 3 blown saves up to this point in the year that were kind of sprinkled every 2-3 weeks or so, I don't know if we're really having the kinds of conversations we're having right now. But the fact that he went 11 for 11 and then blew 3 in a row, that's a whole other situation that has a lot of people losing confidence, and I can understand why, for sure.
And I think that's the frustrating part, is that, Paul Sewald has meant so much to this bullpen, and has not only meant so much when he's pitched, but he's meant so much to the clubhouse. Who's going to give out, if you guys DFA Paul Sewald, who's going to give out the vest? Who's going to hit the lights and get out the disco ball? There are more things that you have to think about when you want to get rid of Paul Sewald than just his performance out there on the mound, which I get is very important, but so is what he does for that clubhouse. So is the stability that up until this point he's brought to the bullpen. And it makes it very difficult to just want to cut bait on a guy, like Damon said, for having a bad week. But that kind of is, as much as it frustrates us as fans, as irritated as we are over this loss, and as much as it is solely to blame on Paul Sewald, like this isn't a situation where you really feel the need to search for the person to blame for. Like, he's the guy that would accept blame, and the guy you should blame is the closer that you sent out there on the mound to get the job done. However, it's like, yeah, you can't just, give up on a guy, because, man, Sewald's the kind of guy that will just make you hate life when you go see him get picked up after being DFA'd by some other team and see what he does for that team. And, like, again, there's probably 29 teams in baseball that would pick him up or want to pick him up after the Diamondbacks got rid of him. So it's like, we are emotional in the moment. We're very angry with his performance, and maybe even him as a person after tonight, right? And I get that, but it's like, you can't be so emotional when you're literally talking about, like, getting rid of a guy like that.
I mean, you really can't. I can't take any conversation about DFAing Paul Sewald seriously at this point. I mean, I understand people are frustrated, but the reality is the Diamondbacks don't get anywhere near the World Series last year without him. They probably don't make the playoffs without him. And for a good portion of this season, I mean, he's been absolutely outstanding. Literally, Derek, you could go back a week ago today where we are still, having completely glowing conversations about how fantastic Sewald has been to open the season. I think his ERA might have started with a 0 a week ago today, maybe a 1, if anything. I know now I think it starts with a 4 after a few rough ones in a row here. So, closers, relievers, we talk about this a lot. They're the most volatile asset in baseball, one of the most volatile assets in all of sports. I mean, what they do is inherently a small sample size job where you're going to have high highs, you're going to have low lows, and you can go from one to the other very, very quickly. And that's definitely what's happened here.
Well, Jesse, of course, we were going through our Mailbag Monday questions, and now is a great time to have you here. I know we're going to get to some stuff from the clubhouse, but Damon, would you hit us with one really quickly while Jesse's here?
Did you want to hit the next one or the one that wanted?
No, let's just hit the next one.
Okay. All right.
What do we got?
Next question comes from Tyler Hall, and he writes us a novel here.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
And he says,
well, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm going to get into it. Put my specs on. Even though the rotation has been better of late and the 3 starters on IL are starting to ramp up, if they don't return till around August, do you see Hazen making a trade for a starter sooner than later? We don't know how effective Montgomery and Erod will be, and if the rotation falls back to the struggles it had a couple weeks ago, it'll be hard to not fall behind in the wild card chase. It could leave us with too many, but maybe increased bullpen depth during playoffs, and better to be safe than sorry and not repeat last year. You guys catch that?
Yeah, but the problem is that it's just not that easy to go out there and find quality starting pitching that's better than even, honestly, the options that the Diamondbacks have at a minor league level. I mean, that's the thing, is I just don't know. I feel like you'd have to give up so much. And again, that the fact that those guys are coming so soon, I just can't imagine the Diamondbacks being that impatient about, the return of Merrill Kelly, Jordan Montgomery, and Erod.
I just think the idea of pulling off a trade right now is, I just think it's pretty unrealistic.
Sure.
We don't. I think the Brewers just got Aaron Savali, but Aaron Savali is not exactly the most highly sought after starting pitcher on the market, given the start that he was off to. So there's also just not that many starters on the market to begin with that I think D-backs fans would get all that excited about. It's looking like a pretty lean market from that standpoint. So I think the D-backs are probably, would be interested, would be having some conversations about acquiring a starter. But given all the injury situations they have, they probably want to wait until pretty close to the deadline to have a better feel for how long Erod is going to be out. How long is Merrill Kelly going to be out? If both of those guys in 3 weeks are getting really close, then there's probably a little bit less pressure to make a move like that. Maybe you focus your assets more on other needs that this team might have. So probably unrealistic to begin with, and I'm not sure. Even if there were opportunities out there, I don't really know if I see the D-backs pursuing something like that anytime soon.
Well, and with the way Yilber Diaz pitched tonight, I think that there's a little less pressure to worry about making that kind of move. Obviously, this is just one start, Jesse, but it's against a good Braves team. And it was solid. One run allowed in that one home run outside of that Yilber Diaz shoved tonight. And again, it's that this is the reason why the Diamondbacks really are not, panicking, I think, about their starting pitching, because they do like some of their young pitchers. The problem is that someone like Yilber Diaz felt like just yesterday he was pitching in Double-A. And now here he is making his major league debut. Like, these guys are good and they believe in their future, but these guys, they're still a little ways off, or at least the Diamondbacks believed they were. You call up Yilber Diaz and he comes out and has the night he has against the Braves. It's incredible.
A month ago, Yilber Diaz was pitching in Double-A.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know the time frame, but I was like, it felt like just yesterday he was with the Sod Poodles.
Yeah, I think it was June 11th that he was officially called up to AAA. So yeah, I'm amazed that no one's been yelling at me yet for like being too negative or whatever. I guess people are feeling pretty down about what happened with Sewald tonight, but Yilber Diaz pitched an outstanding game, and we should definitely be dedicating some time to talking about that as well. 6 innings of 1-run ball, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. And just the poise that he showed on the mound in some, there were a couple of tough spots. There was I think it was the 3rd inning when he allowed back-to-back singles to start the frame to the number 8 and number 9 hitters in the Braves order. You're kind of wondering, like, all right, here's some adversity. What is this going to look like? And he just attacked the zone, and he attacked the zone in particular against Austin Riley in that inning, who had homered against him in his first at bat. So
I love that.
It never felt like, toward the end, maybe you could see some signs of fatigue where his command wasn't quite as sharp as it was early in the game, but it always felt like he was on the attack, that he really trusted his stuff. And from what we saw today, Derek, there's no reason not to trust his stuff. Like, it's 96, it's up to 98 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's got some good life on it. He was able to command it pretty well. His slider command was also really pretty sharp in this game. The curveball is a little bit more of a show me pitch, but that offering had its moments as well. So Diaz was everything the Diamondbacks could have hoped for today. And that bodes so well for the future. Not just for the next few weeks as the D-backs try to get healthy, but a big picture, the next few years. Obviously it's just one start, but this was about as good of a way for his career to get going as you could imagine.
Well, who in our chat asked so nicely, he said, please give me Yilber Diaz interview. Do we got that, Damon? Ready to rock and roll? Let's get more from Yilber Diaz from the clubhouse after his outstanding debut.
No, mi mentalidad desde que yo dejé la pelota, cuando la retomé, mi mentalidad era llegar a las Grandes Ligas y trabajé para eso. Por eso siento que me merezco estar aquí. Voy a trabajar para eso.
He stopped playing baseball for a little bit, and then he came back up, or he picked it up. And then once he picked it up, he only had a goal, and he wasn't going to stop until he would achieve that goal.
So if somebody told you 5 years ago that you would be at this point making your Major League debut, what do you think you would have said?
Si alguien te hubiese dicho hace 5 años que tú ibas a hacer tu debut un día como hoy, ¿qué le hubiese dicho?
No, que es mentira, porque para esto fue que yo trabajé para eso.
He will believe it. He will believe it. He worked so hard for it, and he was always hopeful that it was going to happen.
What an incredible story this young man has, Jesse. Something you wrote an article about for GoPHNX.com. Really was close to never playing baseball again, and yet here he is tonight, not only making his Major League debut, but absolutely just shoving against the Braves.
He just exudes confidence. I mean, you could see that with his mound presence today, just the way that he throws his pitches with just like a certain amount of intensity. You can just tell that he really believes in his stuff. And I thought his answer there was also very telling. Just, this is a question you hear guys asked a lot, like, 5 years ago, if I had told you you'd be in this spot, what would you have said? The kind of canned answer that you expect is, oh, I would have said you were crazy. There's no way I would have thought I could be here. And yet Yilber Diaz is like, no, I would have totally believed you. I worked really hard for this. And what happened today is just the culmination of, all of the hard work that I put in over the years. And yeah, as you said, his story is just unbelievable. He was born in Venezuela. He moved from there. I believe when he was around 16, he wasn't able to sign with a team as an international amateur. He got hurt. He stopped playing baseball altogether, as you heard him describe there. And then he moved to several other countries. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but he moved out of Venezuela to other places, sort of seeking a better life. In the Diamondbacks notes today, they talked about something that was in my story with him being a candy vendor, basically on the streets of various places in Latin America, just trying to make ends meet. He also, I believe, did some window washing or something along those lines, maybe washing cars, just to try to make some money as he again decided to pursue his dream of pitching in the big leagues. And the Diamondbacks took a chance on him when he was 20 years old. They signed him in February of 2021 as a non-drafted free agent. His signing bonus of $10,000. That's about as low of a signing bonus as you'll see in Major League Baseball. But what an amazing story of what he's been able to turn into. I mean, that was just a little over 3 years ago that the Diamondbacks signed him. And he emerged from a guy who threw in the low 90s. Sean Larkin told me today he didn't really know where it was going. It sounds like his first impression as a pro was not particularly good. If you go back and look at his numbers from the Dominican Summer League or whatnot from that year, but he's really turned things around. And I don't think it's crazy, Derek, to say that Yilber Diaz could be the best pitching prospect in the Diamondbacks organization. I mean, he's really been, the strides that he's taken in the last year in particular, really, really impressive stuff.
Maze Devil just gave us his new nickname, Jesse. He will forever be the Candyman going
Correct.
forward. He is now.
Derek and I are locked in on
We're
that.
locked in. Like we locked eyes and we were like, that's it. Yilber Diaz, the Candyman.
Who, Yoshi? I mean, are we gonna Colton Cowser this thing?
Yeah, we will Colton Cowser the shit out of this. We don't care. They don't care about us calling our guy the Milkman, so we can do that. Maze Devil says, because damn, his stuff's sweet. And I love that.
Yeah. Jesse, real quick, what do I always talk about? I say, I want emotion. I want emotion. And in his debut, Jesse, striking out guys screaming as he comes off the mound.
Loved it.
I'm moved.
Loved it.
I am moved right now.
Yeah.
Yilber Diaz, you have changed my life. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They say a piece of Yoshi says Candelario is the Candyman. Did he ever actually sell candy? I'm going to need to see his credentials because that's important part of this whole thing here. Of course, Tom Candiotti is also the Candyman. I'm sure he would happily dub him the new Candyman. I do want to say that we haven't thanked our Desert Financial Credit Union friends for the numbers, right? But that is something we need to do because without Jesse here, I need somebody to check the numbers. I know people don't trust me with adding things up and doing math, so we go to Desert Financial because Desert Financial is, for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. They are a dedicated financial experts who are committed to giving their members financial success, helping you out with your financial goals and dreams. And of course, you can get checking and savings accounts from Desert Financial, mortgages, loans, credit cards, and so much more. They got me started on my home ownership journey. Hopefully, they can get you started as well. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to its members and the community. When you open a free checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. And it's like Bo said, it's like Monopoly. Who gives you $200 simply for pass and go like that? Desert Financial does. Also, speaking of pass and go and maybe collecting a little bit of some money, Game Time will help you save a whole lot of money on last-minute ticket deals for anything you want to see, including sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, whatever you're looking to attend. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game. You can also save even more if you don't care where you sit and you just want to choose a section and let Game Time pick the seats for you. They have a panoramic view from your seat, so you'll get to see exactly what your view will look like before you buy your tickets. And they also have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets right now with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Used Game Time to go to the Dodgers game when I was out in LA.
Oh, did you?
Oh, there you go.
Cheap price.
Oh man, let me tell you.
Damon didn't say hi to me, Derek. How do we feel about that?
Well, because I transitioned quickly, and he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of things going on, and when he's out in California, he doesn't.
Had a lot to drink that night,
Yeah.
Jesse. I'm just trying to get him safe.
He
man.
knows you're doing the professional thing. He'll go up there all drunk and make a scene.
I'm on my third
I'm not
michelada.
saying I was inviting him up to the press box.
That's true.
That's for sure.
That's true. Well, what else we got, Jesse? Because I know, obviously, as nice as Yilber Diaz's story and debut is tonight, it was ruined by what happened there in the top of the ninth inning. I know that Torey, after the game, we saw him on the broadcast committing to Paul Sewald still being his closer. Seemed like no matter what. I know that a manager needs to show confidence like that in his players, but I can also understand after watching that blown save how upset fans can be seeing Torey say that.
Yeah, we do have video of Torey talking about that. Here is Torey on Paul Sewald still being the closer of the Diamondbacks.
There's no need to make.
Yeah, I don't think we're not going to start that conversation yet. I'm not ready to make that decision. Paul's been an unbelievable closer for us, and he will continue to get the baseball.
You said in San Diego your concern was minimal.
Yeah.
How would you put it now?
Still minimal. He's going to get on a nice run for us. I don't know, was he 10 for 10 prior to the 11 for 11? That's pretty good, and there's going to be some bumps on the road for everybody when you play this game long enough.
We're adapting Yilber Diaz's nickname in real time right now, Jesse. We're up to El Dulce right now, which is the sweet, right? Like the sweet.
That's pretty good, man.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, obviously, I think everybody knew Torey wasn't going to come out after this game and proclaim that he was going to replace Paul Sewald. Yet, like I said, it still feels a little frustrating considering that he's basically saying they're not even going to entertain that conversation.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by this at all. Anyone expecting Torey to come out after this game and say that Sewald wasn't going to be the closer. I don't think there's a single manager in baseball that would pull the plug on Paul Sewald at this point. He's been, as we said earlier, he's just been too big a part of this team since he was acquired last summer to pull the plug after 3 in a row. And 3 in a row is not insignificant. I'm not downplaying that the Diamondbacks very well could be on a 9-game winning streak ? They've been in the driver's seat in a lot of baseball games recently, and 3 of those have slipped away pretty much directly because of Sewald in the last week. So I'm not downplaying that, but the other question, Derek, is who do people want to see in that spot? I mean, Justin Martinez seems to be the trendy name there, but Justin Martinez got shelled tonight, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. I mean, I know
He did.
he only allowed one run in the 10th inning and the 11th inning. Technically, neither of them were earned. It was just the ghost runner scoring in both cases. But if you go back and look at the exit velos of every batted ball, I mean, I think every single one of them might have been 95 plus, with a whole lot of them coming in, 105. I think there were a couple of 111s. He was getting hit hard in this game. And there have been some good moments lately for J-Mart as well. I think he had a 7-pitch inning the other day. Of course, there was the 3-inning outing in Los Angeles that was huge. But he also has been a little bit less sharp recently. Ryan Thompson has also been a little bit less sharp lately. Kevin Ginkel is probably the hottest Diamondbacks reliever. Is Ginkel clearly a better option than Sewald moving forward? Like, can maybe understand people wanting to see it, but I don't think it's an obvious thing or in any way egregious that the Diamondbacks are just going to stick it out with Sewald here.
Ginkel's back, Jesse. But also, I wanted to ask you, do you think, I mean, I agree, 3, I wouldn't pull Sewald, but what if it was 4?
That's a fair question. I think if it was, if Sewald were to blow his next one, I wouldn't be surprised if, it would still surprise me if Torey came out right away and said that Sewald is not the closer, but it wouldn't surprise me if we got more of a nondescript, like we're having conversations about that right now. Maybe it turns into a matchups thing. Maybe it's a situation where the D-backs want to get Sewald.
We don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I mean, the history there isn't great either. Maybe it's a situation where the D-backs still want Sewald to be their closer, but they want to give him a lower leverage opportunity, maybe, kind of ease him back in. We saw them do that with Ginkel earlier when Ginkel was struggling. He kind of started pitching in the earlier innings of games and has gradually been moved back into more of a high leverage role. So if it happened again, then I think it gets more interesting at that point for sure. But after tonight, it just kind of is what it is.
Piece of Yoshi put up his exit velos, right? 102.1, 105.4, 96.9, 108.7, 111.9, 82.7. Not great. Yeah. However, he was, the results were better. The results are better than Paul Sewald blowing the game there the 9th, and that's nobody's saying that they're not. The problem is that J-Mart was put in, I guess, in a high leverage situation. You could absolutely call it that. It's just not still the same as closing the game. And Martinez is still pretty young, and I can understand the team still not having that, I guess, belief in him. Not to mention that you put him out there, he starts blowing saves, his confidence gets shook, and now you have one of, your best relievers now that also might not be able to be effective. I don't know. But what I will say is that the answer isn't as easy as moving on to another person there. It's kind of like where people wanted someone else to play third base other than Gino. Gino, of course, has had a better stretch offensively here lately. But again, when we do see other guys play third base, you do quickly find yourself wanting Gino back out there for his defense. And yeah, I know he's not perfect, but Gino is an example right now of one of those situations where even though he's not performing well, it's still probably better than the alternative that the Diamondbacks have within the organization.
I will say I do feel like it's, sort of my duty as the journalist to point out that Paul Sewald declined to speak with the media again tonight, second consecutive time where that's happened. A little surprising. Sewald is, typically great with the media and, has given me a lot of great stuff for a lot of stories. I really, appreciate him and have had a lot of respect over the last year since he came over to the D-backs organization for his willingness to help us out and whatnot. But not a great look, frankly. You're one of the leaders of this team. I know you kind of we're kind of joking about how he gives the vest at the end of wins, but as much as that's like a lighthearted thing, it's a sign that Sewald is a voice in that clubhouse. Like, he's an important voice in that clubhouse. And for him to not speak to the media back-to-back days, after, I totally understand, like on a personal level, I'm sure it really sucks for him right now and feel for him as a person, but it is kind of part of the game. It's kind of part of what you sign up for as a pro athlete, and especially as a closer, to, be willing to talk and, and not shy away from some of these moments. So I can understand it's tough from his perspective, but not a great look for sure.
Elise says it comes off as really soft. A lot of people are booing him in the chat. And I think, like, honestly, it comes down to, we've seen guys that are much, much younger than him. Guys that do not have the experience, maybe don't even have the maturity that Paul Sewald does to handle themselves better in a situation where they're emotional after a loss, where they might have blown a lead or blown a game. We talked to Blaze Alexander this year after he's made mistakes and errors on the field, and he still spoke. A rookie, and he still came out, and he still had moments where he explained his actions, and was kind of had the greatest, in my opinion, had the greatest like reaction to making mistakes, which was just kind of owning up to it and being like, yeah, I got to be better, and I know I'm capable of it, and things like that. Like, there are things where we've seen people accept the responsibility, and this frankly surprises me. It kind of pisses me off too, if I'm being honest, but it surprises me more than anything. I have sat here every time he's blown a save and said that Paul Sewald is the kind of guy, based on our experience, that would sit there and be the first one to tell you that this loss is on nobody but himself and accept that responsibility. To see him not even talking to media, that's not great. It's like you said, it's not a great look. And unfortunately, it really just shows that these blown saves have really impacted him, affected him mentally. Like, this is really not easy for him. And obviously that doesn't help, considering that right now, the weight of this loss is once again like on his shoulders. Paul Sewald isn't blowing these games. He's not blowing these saves because of the defense not backing him up or other factors. It primarily has been him.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, the last couple have been 1-run leads, which, I think it's different if a closer blows a 3-run lead than if they blow a 1-run lead. It was just 1 run the last couple of times. Obviously, it was 2 runs today. Just a tie game. D-backs had a chance to come back and win it. But yeah, it's tough. I can't imagine just on a personal level, like. It's a good thing, Derek, that I am not a closer for a Major League Baseball team, because I would not have the mental fortitude that is necessary.
I have to sit here and face this chat without you after a loss like this, Jesse. It's just like facing the media.
It is pretty damn similar.
It's very similar. It's daunting. It's intimidating. I get it. They just don't have cameras in front of my face. Oh, wait. There is one and some lights. But Jesse, I know Torey had more to say about Paul Sewald. Do we want to start off with his opening statement about this loss?
I think we can probably skip the opening statement at this point, unless you guys.
Nah, let's do that. What else you got? You got Torey on Sewald?
Yeah, there's one more of Torey just kind of reacting to what happened with Sewald tonight.
I'm still shaking my head. A 2-out home run. Doesn't happen very often, but it's been happening a little bit to us lately, and it's almost unbelievable, and it's frustrating, but it's part of the game.
Is there something you could point to across these 3 long saves?
No, not necessarily. He'd been perfect up to that point, and closers blow saves. It happens, but maybe just finish the innings, just have the same intent. I'm sure he does, but. He's not taking anything for granted. Just continue to make pitches and something good will happen.
Baseball is such a fickle sport, Jesse, and you find yourself one week being, on top of the world, and then you go through a stretch where, people want you to lose your job over, poor performances. And it's only exasperated by the fact that the Diamondbacks are playing such good baseball right now. Outside of that, these aren't blowout losses. We're not losing these games to the Dodgers and the Padres, and now here to the Braves by a ton. We were up, and we were up late. And even in some of those games, the Diamondbacks overcame adversity and came back in the Padres series only to still lose due to Paul Sewald. So this is just hard, I feel like, to actually make a decision. And I will also say, maybe the more surprising thing about Paul Sewald is the fact that he was ever even this good. Because at times, Paul Sewald will be the first one to tell you that he's only going to throw 2 pitches, and the opposing batter knows that, and yet somehow he finds a way to be as good as he is. So I really don't know what the answer here is as far as what the Diamondbacks do. Right now, I imagine it's just proceed as they already have.
It is. I mean, I think we all are aware and have been from the beginning of Sewald's tenure here that he's not a prototypical closer in that he's not throwing 100 miles an hour. He doesn't have, his sweeper's a good pitch, but it's not like 93 miles an hour that's fallen off the table or something. I mean, it's a 91 mile an hour 4-seamer that has, he throws at a funky angle. He throws a rising fastball and an arm slot that people really only throw like sinkers from. So he's a unique pitcher. He's unlike just about anyone else in the league. And that's what has driven a lot of his success over the last few years. But at the same time, there has been an element of, we saw it in the playoffs, like the more that guys see Sewald, it seems like he's maybe even more prone than in the average pitcher to guys figuring him out after a few at-bats. I think that seems to be a real thing. And he's also a little bit home run prone. That's not just like something that's happened in the last week. That's been Sewald's primary downside. Granted, he's still been really good, but if you were kind of being nitpicky, he's given up a decent amount of home runs over the last few years, even when he was very good in Seattle, because he's a rising fastball guy. Like, he's trying to get you to swing and miss at the top of the zone and with his fastball. And when he doesn't throw it high enough, then you see something like what happened with Sean Murphy, where he's able to, take it the other way and hit it really far. So it's a deception kind of a situation. It's different than basically any other pitcher. And it hasn't worked out so well here in the last week.
Well, of course, Jesse, we know that maybe Torey might be lying about how much he's going to stick with Paul. We don't know. But we know that the numbers, they don't lie. They never lie. So what do you have for tonight's number?
Yeah, I thought about going with a positive one because I often get flack for being too negative.
Why?
But tonight, I figured the vibes would be pretty negative. So this is a negative one. The number 4, Derek, represents the number of games since, I guess this goes back to last Friday, that the Diamondbacks have lost where they had a lead in the 8th inning or later. So since last Friday, the Diamondbacks have played 10 consecutive games at this point in which they had a lead in the 8th inning or later, and they are just 6-4 in those games. They have lost 40% of those games where they have had a lead in the 8th inning or later. The first one of those being last Friday's game where Ryan Thompson had a bit of a rough outing in the 8th inning. D-backs lost that one to the A's. And then obviously these last 3 with Sewald in this past week. So
Gross.
It's brutal. It's, like we said the other day, you can squint here and the D-backs are on a 10-game winning streak. And I mean, if somehow they had managed to pull that off, they would be 49. If I can do this math in my head real quick, they would be 49-42, I think. That's what record the Diamondbacks would have if they had just managed to turn all those games into wins. Granted, that's not necessarily like what should have happened. Like, relievers are going to have their off days, and D-backs bullpen, the back end has been really solid up until this stretch. But yeah, just a brutal run of 10 games here in terms of just the late inning, not being able to lock these games down.
Well, Jesse, I think we have a few more Mailbag Monday questions, and despite the fact, we do want to address one thing, and that is this is absolutely Frank the Tank from Barstool Sports' fault, and he absolutely cursed Paul Sewald because that man was fine before the two of them interacted and touched each other, and now this is where we're at. But of course, we do have a few more of our Mailbag Monday questions. Damon, let's see what we got.
Little bit confused on which ones we have done and which ones we haven't, but I think
that's
we're here.
We're at. Yeah.
We're with Serpiente's Magic, and he says, how would it affect the whole infield defense if Walker leaves via free agency?
It's bad. Christian Walker is one of the aforementioned guys that his contract is up at the end of the season. Of course, we were hoping at some point to hear that the Diamondbacks would have reached some sort of agreement on an extension with Christian Walker. That does not appear that it's happening right now, right? Like now that we're this close to him being a free agent, I feel like for all intents and purposes, he is going to be a free agent, and of course that hurts because Christian Walker tonight made an incredible play. One of those plays that you just don't even appreciate enough that helped keep this lead prior to Paul Sewald's meltdown there. So I don't know, Jesse, this infield, I think like what I kind of said about Gino. I mean, we tend to really miss some of these guys when they're not playing there because they're very good, and we get very used to how good they are and how effortless they make playing their positions defensively.
Especially Christian Walker. I mean, he made an unreal play late in this game to save a run. I'm forgetting who hit this ball, but it was a line shot up the first baseline, and Walker just made an unbelievable diving play to be able to just easily touch first, and that was that. So he's so good at first base. I mean, he's the best defensive first baseman in the league and has been for years. It would be not only a big impact defensively, but a pretty big impact offensively too. Like he's been a really important part of the middle of this lineup. I know there was a story over at the Arizona Republic today from Nick Pecoro about the topic of Christian Walker's impending free agency. And there's some quotes from Mike Hazen in there talking about how, of course, he wants to bring back Christian Walker. And, he didn't get into any of the specifics as far as that's concerned, but he did talk about how he feels like he has the necessary payroll flexibility to, make something like that happen. So we'll see where it goes. There's going to be a long line of teams that want Christian Walker this offseason. It's not just going to be the Diamondbacks, especially if he continues on the pace that he's at right now. So we'll have to see how it turns out.
I think that we haven't had any actual official mention of Christian Walker being offered an extension and being turned down, but I don't know if that news would necessarily become public, right?
Probably
that's not something that I recall it being said that's not beneficial for either side. When a player is offered a contract extension and they turn it down, it doesn't make the organization look great, nor does it really make the player look great in the eyes of the fans. So not a lot there for either side to win if they did have a contract extension that didn't go anywhere. But again, just one of those guys that you just think about how Christian Walker helped us lose Goldschmidt, right? And how much he helped ease the pain of losing essentially the majority of the fan base's favorite player and the best player on this team.
Not your favorite player though, huh, Derek?
We're not doing that again. We already have enough thumbs down on this episode.
Derek
tonight.
thinks Paul Goldschmidt was terrible. Everyone.
Nobody said that. No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
Overrated, right, Derek? That is what you said. You did say overrated. That's not hyperbole.
I said they worship him, Jesse. These fans put him on a pedestal, and now look at what you're doing. You're making me have this. Let's go on. Next question. What else we got, Damon?
Next question comes from the basketball and football guy, and he says, now with Humberto Castellanos' save and how good Vieira has been, does Kyle Nelson and Miguel Castro have a spot on this team?
It's a great question. Miguel Castro, obviously, he is a guy that was making some rehab starts for AAA Reno. We got word today from Torey Lovullo that he is stepping aside due to a personal matter, but should be back to playing for the Reno Aces. Should be back for this team soon. But I mean, I don't know. I think the Diamondbacks were really searching for some bullpen options, and now they have some pretty good ones. And guys need to step up, or they might not have a job on this team. Like, that's a very real possibility for some of these, especially some of the younger players.
Kyle Nelson is out for the season. I feel like we need to point that out here.
Someone was saying career, and he's yes, he's not going to be
Yeah,
back.
not a career-ending injury. We certainly hope,
No.
but just a season-ending injury at thoracic outlet surgery. So he's done for the year. Miguel Castro, as you said, should be back here hopefully pretty soon. I don't think that Thiago Vieira or Humberto Castellanos necessarily impeding Castro from getting his job back. Castro certainly hasn't been excellent for the Diamondbacks since he came over, but he has a track record of being at least a league average-ish reliever, and I think that's something the D-backs would still value. Vieira has been good, nothing to, not to take anything away from him. Castellanos came up really big for the D-backs the other day as well. He's more here in a length role, so I think Castellanos is his role is very different from what Miguel Castro's role would be. So I don't view any kind of interference or anything there. Castro, once he's healthy, he's not going to have any problem getting a roster spot.
All right, we got one more question. Damon, what do we got for our last one before we get out of here?
Last question comes from Tim, and he says, if we had to pick up one, who do you choose, Longo, Mad Bum, or Greinke?
Oh my God, I hate this so goddamn much. I don't want to know. I don't want any of these guys. Longo
wasn't bad.
Longo. I'll take Longo back.
I was going to say, I was pretty
easy
sure you'd
selection.
want Longo.
Yeah. Longo. I mean,
Longo
he's
last
already
year-
back. He's probably in the clubhouse right now as we speak.
Yeah, Longo just for the vibes, right? I think pretty valid questions to ask.
No, not just for the vibes. For the goddamn leadership. Like, this team needs somebody like Longo, and at times I feel like that is really what's lacking with this team.
Yeah, vibes, leadership, same thing.
No,
Same.
they are not the same thing.
I think there are probably some pretty valid questions to be asked about the usefulness of any of those players on a Major League Baseball
Sure,
diamond.
but Zach Greinke still needs number 3,000, Jesse.
That's true. Out of the three, I think Greinke might be my pick. Is like, this guy could maybe string together some good stuff for half a season or whatever.
We need him right now.
Not for Yilber Diaz's spot, Derek.
No. He can have Slade's spot.
Torey did confirm, by the way, that Yilber Diaz will make his next start in the big leagues. Not that there was any doubt about that after he totally shoved in his debut today, but Torey confirmed he will start again in 5 days. So that would be on Saturday against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, we got our strikeout meter for tonight. Again, as you guys may know, I did steal the Circle K strikeout meter from Chase Field. There's our strikeouts for tonight. These are Yilber Diaz's strikeouts for tonight, by the way. So shout out to
There wasn't
Yilber.
a single one after Yilber Diaz?
No. We just did. It's sometimes we do the starting pitcher, Jesse. Sometimes we do all of them. Sometimes we do whatever the hell we want on this show, especially on a night like this where it really doesn't matter. No, this is just Yilber Diaz's. I was saying that was just Yilber Diaz's strikeouts. Excuse me. I apologize. El Dulce, as we have learned to love him and call him, the Candy Man. Of course, thank you to Circle K. Thank you to all of candy. Speaking of candy, get some great candy at Circle K. It's a great place to stop. Not only can you get some candy, maybe you get something a little nutritious as well for yourself. And hopefully you fill up your car, because I know gas is not cheap right now, but Circle K will help you ease the pain a little bit. Right now, you can go to Circle K. You can sign up for their Inner Circle program for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. When you do, you will save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You'll save 3 cents per gallon every day after that. You'll get all sorts of wonderful coupons and benefits in the app. And even if you don't join the Inner Circle, you can still get yourself any size Froster or Polar Pop right now at Circle K for just 79 cents. That is through September 3rd. I have some snacks behind me. I'm sure they're probably going to be mad at me because I know they probably don't want me messing up the set and eating these, but I'm totally going to eat these right now. But that's because the Circle K branded snacks are not to be slept on. Do not miss out on all of that. And do not miss out on everything Circle K has to offer, including picking up your Four Peaks beers at Circle K. Circle K and their beercade got all sorts of wonderful beers, including the Four Peaks. Four Peaks has a wide variety of beers to choose from, including our new favorite, the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. There's some great beers, but that one sits at the top right now for me. You can get this wonderful collaboration between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie in tap lines all across the valley. You can check out Four Peaks in person at their location, or you can get them in 15 packs at grocery stores all around the valley. Right now, visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please enjoy responsibly. Well, my voice isn't going to close this game out. My voice is about to blow the save, but we have no show tomorrow, so I'm going to rest up. Jesse and I, we're taking a break before we go on the road this weekend. We are going to be bringing you basically a whole lot of post-game shows for a whole lot of days in a row from Texas, from Chicago. We're going to be having some fun. We're also going to have our guy, Jordan Schusterman, on the show on Wednesday. So we will have a 1 p.m. show on Wednesday. Make sure to join us for that. For Jordan, he's a wonderful guest, and I guess I can have Jesse and Jordan here at the same time. I don't like to have that much baseball brain power, making me feel very insignificant about myself, making me feel self-conscious, but we'll do it anyway. So, of course, make sure to join us for that. In the meantime, you guys can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse and Friedman. Of course, the people's producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And we are and will forever be Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX_D-backs.
We haven't barked in a while, dude.
We haven't barked in entirely too long. I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know if we linked up properly on that one. We'll figure it out. It's been a while. Jesse saw me today and he was like, wow, you're really growing that beard out. He hasn't seen me in like 3 weeks, I feel like, in person. It's wild. But of course, we thank you guys again. Make sure you follow the show at PHNX_D-backs, but all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, we thank all of you guys so much for your passion about this team, your comments, for joining us here live. We appreciate you so much. We will see you on Wednesday. Until then, have a wonderful Tuesday. Have a wonderful night tonight. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you don't blow Yilber Diaz's amazing debut.
We all silly like the mayor.